everybody, and welcome to a special playoff preview edition of You're Off the Case, the Ottawa Hockey Podcast. I'm Clayton Johns alongside Jon Willemsen as we try to take you through the first-round matchup in the Central Canadian Hockey League. John, will start with the first-ranked Nepean Raiders taking on the number 8 Smiths Falls Bears. John, Nepean had 3 players in the top 10 in scoring this year: Craig Cowie, Ryan McLean, and Kenneth Neal. How does Smiths Falls counter that high-powered attack from the Raiders?
Simply put, they need Matt Robertson to continue what he's done all throughout the year, but they're going to need more than just Matt Robertson because he is their entire offense, as evidenced by his 100 points, and he could have definitely been considered the most valuable player to his team, even though Craig Cowie deservedly got the award for running away with the scoring title. But Matt Robertson was close behind, second in points, and Matt Robertson is definitely the only true offensive threat that the Smiths Falls Bears have up front because the rest of their team is rebuilding and very young, and they're going to need Robertson to continue what he's done and just going on a tear in the second half of the season, and they're going to also need brilliant goaltending from that I guess is their big question mark.
You mentioned goaltending for the Smiths Falls Bears, but goaltending, one of the stronger points for the Nepean Raiders. Matt Zawadski, their starting goaltender, second best goals against average and save percentage in the regular season. On the flip side, Mackenzie Sawyer, the starting goaltender for Smiths Falls, had the worst goals against average in the league, second last save percentage. Nepean scored 7 or more goals on him in 3 of their 5 games this year. How big does Sawyer need to be for the Smiths Falls team to have a chance? And on the opposite side, what does Smiths Falls need to do to beat Zawadski?
I think that for Smiths Falls I'll start with the Zawadski one. Zawadski is a very good goaltender, unorthodox, but he's able to get the puck out. He's unable to stop the puck, which pretty much from wherever, whenever he's facing pressure. So always an asset to have, and that's why Nepean are the obvious championship favorites at this point. But on the flip side of that, when you've got Mackenzie Sawyer and Lane Perron, they're both been hot at times, but they've been slumping as of late when they're going into the playoffs. Have the Smiths Falls Bears as a team have been doing well, but their goaltenders haven't been by any means spectacular, and the reason why they've been winning, as you alluded to already, with Sawyer leading the league in high goals against average for starting netminders. Do I think that that's possible for them to be able to get on and help them win the series? It's possible because we've evidenced in the past 2 years of Stanley Cup playoffs Michael Layton bringing the Philadelphia Flyers all the way to the Cup Finals, and he's a career AHLer. And then you look last year, Dwayne Rolison in his 40s, stopping pucks with his cane when he was trying to help them make it all the way to the conference semifinals. So anything's possible, and if Sawyer and Perron get hot and Robertson's able to carry this team offensively, Smiths Falls definitely have a chance and can make the series closer than people think, but I still see Nepean winning this series in 5 games just because their offense is too much. Game
1 of the series between Nepean and Smiths Falls goes Wednesday night at Nepean. Game 2, Friday, March the 16th at Smiths Falls. Game 3 back in Nepean on Sunday, March the 18th, and Game 4 in Smiths Falls on Tuesday, March the 20th. Moving along to the Cornwall Colts and the 7th-ranked Ottawa Jr Senators. And the big story in this series, John, is going to be, can the Ottawa Jr Senators stop the Spink brothers? Is there any way Ottawa can stop them? I mean, Tyler Spink had 72 points in just 29 games this year. Is that just too big of a task to handle?
Well, when you look at the last few games for the Junior Senators, they're one of, if not the hottest team coming into the playoff race. They've won 8 out of their past 10 games, or 9 out of their past 11, one of the two. And they've done a really good job being able to shut down opposing teams' top lines as the season's getting late. And they've got really good goaltending in the duo of Ed Zadolchek and Charlie Millen. But the X factor of this series is going to be unquestionably Ed Zadolchek of the Junior Sens, because he's going to face the mammoth task of having to not only shut down arguably the 2 best players in the league in the Spink brothers, but that supporting cast that they've surrounded the Spinks with too. So, and for the Junior Senators, in order for them to win the series, they're going to need a huge effort from Zadolchek just to do what he's done as he's ended the regular season, and they're also going to need to find a way to beat Lucas Hafner of the Cornwall Colts, because Lucas Hafner, people often forget about him when they focus on the Spink brothers, but Lucas Hafner is definitely one of the elite goaltenders in this league, and it's going to be a tough task for Ottawa to overcome.
Now, you mentioned Ottawa played well down the stretch. They beat Brockville twice in a home-and-home series. They defeated the Nepean Raiders in their last game of the season. So how big is it for them to make sure that those top scores come in for them just as they did in those last couple of games?
Well, the Junior Sens, they're a very veteran team. We've mentioned that. I think we've mentioned that before. They've got a lot of 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds, and I'm sure that they'll be ready to go as the playoffs get closer and when they're actually playing in them. I'm sure that their veteran experience will help them out, but they've got some big guns like Connor Brown, Devin Rice, Josh Pitt. Drew Anderson may or may not be injured and playing in the series. We don't know his status yet, but these guys are going to be huge players for them, and they're going to need to have also the strong play of Ben Robillard and Derek Boudreau as of late, and have those. If their top six forwards are working and clicking really well, then I think that the Junior Sens can definitely make this series closer than people think, because people often look at Cornwall and say they are, if not the best team in the entire league, and Ottawa Junior Sens have much less of a pedigree, but the Junior Sens are so hot as of late that I think that the Junior Sens can make this series close and at least compete in the series, but I still have Cornwall winning it in 6 games just because the Spinks and the Hafner combination are just too much for them to overcome.
Game 1 between the Colts and Sens is Thursday, March the 15th at Cornwall, with Game 2 back at the Jim Durrell Arena on St. Patrick's Day, Saturday, March the 17th. Game 3 the following day in Cornwall on March 18th, and Game 4 will be Wednesday, March the 21st at Ottawa. Moving along to the third series, the third seed Brockville Braves taking on the defending champion Pembroke Lumber Kings. Game 1 was Tuesday night in Brockville. Pembroke won Game 1 4-2. And John, is it really right to call the defending national champions the underdog in this series?
No, you said it exactly right. When you're the defending national championships and you come off the winning the Canadian title for your league for the first time in 35 years, there's no way that and you've won 5 consecutive league playoff championships. There's no way that your team should be considered an underdog. However, the Pembroke Lumber Kings, they definitely are rebuilding. They lost a lot of their offense and defense from the previous year, but the one constant through this all has been Frank Dupuis, the goaltender who led them to the Canadian Championship last year, and he's back in his veteran season, and I'm sure there's nothing he would like to do more than to upset a couple seeds along the way. So, although you can't really call them a Cinderella team, I think that in a lot of cases, Pembroke are the team that's considered the favorite in this matchup.
Pembroke may be the favorite in a lot of people's minds, but on paper it is Brockville. But one of your keys to victory for the Brockville Braves is they need to get the best out of their goaltending.
Yeah, William Betts and Andrew Picoul, have not really established either one of them as a starting netminder. They rotate goaltending duties, and neither of them have proven that they are capable of shutting down a team on a consistent basis. They have good games and they've got bad games, and because they fluctuate between the good and the bad, it's really hard to get any consistency among them. So I think that in order for Brockville to win this series, they're going to need not only to find a way to solve Frank Dupuis, because Blasco, Roy, and DeBello and et al., they're all going to need to do a really good job breaking through the Pembroke defense, which is very strong this year, but they're also going to need to keep the pucks out of their own net, and that's the job which is going to go to either Pico or Betts, whoever's starting.
I'm moving along now to the final series between the 4th place Carleton Place Canadians and the 5th place Hawkesbury Hawks. Game 1, Hawkesbury takes this one 4-1 over a slumping Carleton team who really hit the brakes heading into the playoffs. They had just 2 wins in their last 7 games. And John, what does Carleton Place need to do to turn this around for them and make sure they don't end up with that early playoff exit?
Well, the last time I was on your show, I think I actually picked the Carleton Place Canadians to win the entire playoff title, and every time I've seen Carleton Place, they've really impressed me because they're such a deep team. They've got really strong offense, they've got really good veteran defense, but the biggest question mark right now is there's 2 questions. One, can Joe Yetman handle being a starting goaltender, because he has looked very shaky in the past 2 months? And also, is this team motivated enough to actually do well? Because we've seen through their recent slump, as you've mentioned, they're really coming into this playoff on a low note. They don't have much confidence at all, and they're playing against a team right now in Hawkesbury who likes to play defensive hockey, and Hawkesbury are definitely would not be a shock to many people if Hawkesbury are able to win this series, because they've got many good players capable of winning this.
Carleton Place may have hit the brakes heading into the playoffs, but Hawkesbury went on a tear as they headed into the playoffs. They're definitely a streaky team, though. They had a 7-game win streak at the end of January and into the beginning of February. They won 7 of their last 8 games down the stretch. But what does Hawkesbury need to do to keep that going and make sure they get a win against, as you said, a very strong Carleton Place team?
I think the biggest thing for them is their goaltending again. With goaltending so important in the playoffs, and again in this series, it's going to play a huge factor for Hawkesbury because Carmine Guerrero is one of the best goaltenders in the league. He's proven that, and he's been the reason why Hawkesbury tied for third with Pembroke in goals against in total in the year. So Guerrero is an elite goaltender, and they're going to really need him to be at the top of his game in order to shut down the many weapons that the Canadians have up front. And if Guerrero is able to do that, then it wouldn't be much of a stretch to say the Hawks can win this series. But the problem for the Hawkesbury is the fact that even though they've got such great defensive play, their offensive game is suspect. They've got their top line, which contributes a lot offensively, but they don't have much else outside of their top 4 or 5 guys. So I think that even though Carleton Place are really slumping right now, and a lot of people won't be picking them to win this series, I still have seen them playing at their best, and I know, well, they've got them ranked nationally, and I know that when this team is playing at their best, they're almost unstoppable. So I think that Carleton Place, despite not playing at the level that I'm sure that they would like to be at coming into the playoffs, I think that they'll be able to get it together through this year, and I'm taking Carleton Place to win this series in 7 games. And I don't think I mentioned it before, but I'm also picking Pembroke to beat Brockville in 6 games. I don't think I alluded to that one earlier.
Certainly will be an interesting playoffs here in 2012 for the Central Canadian Hockey League. Definitely a couple of upset possibilities, at least statistically, coming up. But John, thanks a lot for being on the show today.
No worries. Thanks for having me. I enjoy it.
Make sure you check out episode 1.10 of You're Off the Case coming up soon. But thank you for tuning in now for the CCHL playoff preview show here on You're Off the Case, the Ottawa Hockey Podcast, on this day, March the 14th, 2012.
Go, baby, I like it.